Well, hello there, everybody. Linda Bloom here with you for Bloom Talks. Charlie's not with us today because he's flying to Louisiana to teach a 3-day course, his program for integral living. So I'm here with you today to inquire into this whole idea of soulmate. And when Charlie and I wrote this blog and we posted it on Psychology Today, it got a massive amount of hits. So there's a lot of people who are really interested in this whole idea of soulmate. What is a soulmate? And particularly, are you my soulmate? Whether you're with a partner, looking for a partner, or just interested about the subject, to understand more about what's true and what's just mythology about soulmates, I think is really important. So one of the things that is a popular misconception is that there's only one. And I don't think so. I think there are a lot of people who are eligible to be our soulmate, and that there isn't a one and only, that we have to find that one and only person who is the right one. So it takes some pressure off if we can see that there's a lot of people who could maybe fit the bill just fine. Another popular misunderstanding is that when we meet them, there's going to be instant recognition on both sides, that we're going to have that just intuitive flash of this is the one. And it's really rare that love at first sight happens on both sides. It's actually quite rare that it happens even on one side. So to expect the instant recognition, I don't think so. Another one that's a popular misconception is that once I find them, my life is going to be golden. My life is going to be filled with love. We're not going to argue. We're going to be so compatible. We're going to support each other. We're going to intuit each other, meaning we won't have to clarify. We'll just understand each other at a very deep level. I don't think so. Even when there's a very deep and abiding love, and even when there's a firm commitment on both sides to do the deepest soul work, we still are going to have differences, conflicts. There are going to be things that are going to activate us that we're going to have to work through. So there isn't going to be permanent joy and bliss, even if we do find our soulmate. And the last but not least misconception is that once we find them, it's going to be a lifetime partnership with that person. Maybe not. Maybe they're going to come into our life to do some very important and profound soul work with us, and it's going to be of a time-limited basis. It doesn't mean we didn't find them. It means that we had work to do with them, and we did that. And now we're freed, and they are too, to go on to do some soul work with another person. So I want to just call attention to why the myths around the soulmate are so popular and pervasive, even though they're unrealistic. It kind of takes people off the hook. They think all I have to do is find the right one, and then my life is going to be golden. Yeah, there is a kind of a simple, even childlike form of magical thinking that all I have to do is find the right person. Then I won't have to work so hard at relationship. And I don't think so. So I want to challenge you, if these myths or any others may be standing in your way of seeing that the person that you're already involved with could be your soulmate right now, but it's not fitting the idea and the model of what you think the real soulmate would be. So I want to just put in a plug for finding someone who is interested in soul making, somebody who's interested in personal growth, somebody who wants to go to the essence and the core of who they are, and who is willing to assist us to go the essence and the core of who we are. Because that's a good deal. When you have a contract like that we're going to be in each other's life to create a juicier, soul abundant life, that we're not going to settle for being dry in soul. We're not going to settle for superficiality. We want to go deep. We're not going to settle for secrets and lies. We're going to go for honesty and truth telling, even if it can be disconcerting. We don't want to let anybody get a script shoved in our hand, our religious institution, our family of origin, our culture, who tells us how we should live our life. We want to discover that together, to uniquely design the life and the relationship that fits us. So if you find somebody that you're attracted to and that you have similar life goals, that you have some guidelines that you would like to live by, that's a good omen that you have the potential to do a lot of good soul work with this person. It won't all be easy. In fact, you're likely to bring out old wounds in each other that need to be attended to. Dark shadow material, the kind of material that we don't like to think we are, that we don't even want to see in the other person. Our little mean-spirited self, our vindictive self, our controller, our frightened self, our weak self. But if we're making a contract with somebody to do soul work together, we are inviting the shadow to show itself to us so that we can learn how to manage it well, so it won't run our life amok. And when we do this kind of work, it can be unpleasant, it can be distressful, it can be scary, it can be daunting. We can have doubts, maybe I'm not with the right person, when we start to see their shadow, when they start to see ours. But this is soul work of the first order, to get down to who we really are. The dark part, the part that we're embarrassed about, the part that we're ashamed of, and also our golden self, our most magnificent self. And that we make a commitment to catalyze each other through our soul work, to evolve into who we can be. And I know that there are a lot of ways that people do that. I think spiritual practice as an individual, to sit in meditation and have different forms of spiritual practice, is remarkable and will take us a ways. But so will our committed partnership with a soul contract take us a ways. In fact, there's some spiritual teachers that I have tremendous esteem for, who say the relationship track is the fast track to enlightenment. How do we tell when we're becoming more abundant in soul? We will feel the juice. We will feel the rush of energy. We will feel enthusiasm, interest, curiosity, aliveness, vitality. And when we're inviting that in our partnership, we will be catalyzing that in the other. So the complacency, the superficiality, the comfort and security model, the predictability, that will lead to dryness in soul. So will guilt and shame and lack of forgiveness and blame and anger and resentment and rage and vindictiveness. These are all going to dry us up in soul. When we can be cognizant of them, when we can notice those aspects in our life, we can get to work trying to deal with them in an effective way. The resentment, to cultivate forgiveness for as long as it takes to forgive the slights, the hurts, the violations, to forgive the broken agreements, to replace our tendency to want to cover and protect our heart with kindness and generosity. These are all direct routes to become juicy in soul and to inspire our partner to also be juicy in soul. Connection and vulnerability is related to doing soul work, that we stand apart from our image and our looking good presentation, because there's a part of us that is ego driven, that wants to look good and feel good and be right. And we have to be willing to let that persona that we take out into the world, that we need sometimes, to come down with the person that we're doing the soul work with, to be transparent, to allow them to see us, to find ways that we can participate together as much as possible in soul juicing activities. Could be a lot of different ways. Emotional intimacy, sexual intimacy, finding those things that bring joy and aliveness into our life. For some people, that's storytelling. For other people, that's creative expression. For some people, it's singing or dancing or drumming or jewelry making or throwing pots. But there are activities that we can do together, being in the marvels of nature together, soul-making activities that fill our soul tank up to the brim, to the point where we feel like we need to grow a bigger soul tank to be able to hold the energy and the ecstatic and the joyful vibrational fields that we start to be surrounded by as we're doing our soul work. But don't forget that we can't go straight to the joy and aliveness. We have to make the descent into the shadow, dark, scary realms before we can come up. And there's nothing like a committed partnership, and one that is willing to do the soul work, to roll up our sleeves and to get busy doing that soul work, to call forth the shadowy parts of ourselves that maybe we haven't wanted to see and that we may have been really ambivalent about seeing in the other. But when we can comprehend what the bonanza benefits are for creating a soul-infused partnership, the price of admission becomes a lot more acceptable. Our willingness to pay the prices by going into the dark places, by feeling the brokenness, to feel the incompleteness, to feel the dryness, so that we can move through that. And it is an incredible blessing to have somebody who's willing to take that journey with us. I feel so blessed that my husband Charlie and I agreed decades ago that we were going to be soulmates. We declared that. That was our intention. We weren't going to find a soulmate. We were going to become a soulmate, and we were going to invite each other into soul-making activities by doing shadow work and by finding what it is that helped us to feel the most alive and the most juicy. Knowing the core of who we are as an individual, being willing to be transparent and to show that to other, and going in there to see the truth about who they are at the core. Now, this is not a process for sissies. This is for people who are willing to do the work that's required to get there. And it's not sustainable all the time. You get there and then you lose it. And then you have to do some more work. But it becomes easier over time. It becomes a more habituated part of our life, the things that keep us from living the juicy, soulful life, like the harboring of anger and resentment, like the commitment to comfort and security rather than the willingness to risk. We start to see what qualities we need to cultivate in ourselves to live a soulful life more consistently. The courage to face the tough issues, the self-discipline to not act out when we're angry, when we feel hurt and disappointed, frustrated. The, the self-discipline to think before we speak and act, to pause and reflect so we're not such a reaction machine, to cultivate forgiveness, to cultivate compassion, patience, tolerance. These are all soul-making activities. And when we have a partner who is engaging with us to cultivate those qualities with us, that's a winning combination. And for those of you listening out there, I wish for you that you find somebody with good raw materials that you're attracted to and who has a similar attitude and desire to create a soulful life together. And you two can design together what that would look like, because it's very unique and individual for every person and every couple. And you're completely in charge of your doing this. But it is not about finding the right person. It's much more about being the right person. And as we do our own soul work, it inspires the people who are in partnership with us to do their work as well. So I'm wishing you lots of great soul making and finding somebody who's really passionate about it like you are. I want to give you a preview of coming attraction for next week's topic. Charlie will be back from teaching in Louisiana, and we're talking about manipulation. The costs outweigh the benefits. So I'm looking forward to seeing you next week. All the best.